So, moving swiftly on, please do talk about that. That obviously, I've just been sitting there watching that thinking we've never tried that at TechShare Pro before, but I don't know why we haven't done it before. Just hearing about people's experiences in their jobs, talking about the reality of trying to deal with the pressures of the work that we do. I think that was wonderful. And a huge thank you to people on the panel for sitting up here. That must have been a little bit terrifying at times. So, yeah, really fantastic session. So next we're going to talk to the RNID about the work they're doing with technology. And this is a little spotlight session, just looking at some of the tech that's on the horizon and some of the ways that we can see technology being adopted around us, and also a little bit about how technology gets adopted, because there's a lot of work that you're doing with the key players out there. So, Frankie, if you could just tell us a little bit, from the RNID's perspective, where does technology fit into the picture? There's lots and lots of technology out there that helps people who are deaf or have hearing impairments. So we're going to hear about new technology, but of course it's already out there. It's already doing things that you work with.
Absolutely. So there's 18 million people in the UK who are deaf or have hearing loss. And for us, technology just has so much potential to make the world more inclusive, whether that be assistive tech, helping people to hear better, or whether it be consumer tech that actually can make a massive difference and unlock kind of people's lives. So the way we do it at RNID, we can't do it alone. We've got huge ambitions. So we do a lot in partnership. So just some kind of projects that we've worked on. Most recently, we worked with Newcastle United and their shirt sponsor Seller on creating haptic vests. So that is shirts that convert the noise of the crowd into vibrations. So for deaf fans, completely transforming the experience of the game. We've worked with Samsung on multiple projects, so testing different technologies with people who are deaf or have hearing loss to see if any changes can be made to make them more accessible. And those changes were made, which is absolutely fantastic and absolutely, what we want to see to make the products more inclusive. And finally, another example of something we've worked on is the Couch to 5K app, making that more accessible to people who have a hearing loss. So yeah, just a whole host of different types of projects, so if someone is open to either making their product more accessible to someone who has a hearing loss, or if they want to create something that's going to unlock the world for people with hearing loss, RNID is so game to work with them. And yeah, I'm excited to hear what Alastair's going to tell you about today as kind of a really exciting example.
And in terms of day-to-day reality for people hearing loss, which technologies are they actually adopting now? We're looking ahead to future ones. What's the sort of most common things that people are relying on in the day-to-day life? I mean, I'm obviously thinking captions, maybe being able to sign on their phone. Those are things I know about. Are there other things that people are relying on as well?
Yeah, there's loads of things. I mean, I guess there's obviously hearing aids and cochlear implants and that kind of technology, which helps people to hear better itself. But then, on Teams and Zoom and stuff, the live captions makes a massive difference to people. I think transcription, all that sort of stuff is really good.
Yeah. And how good are live captions? That's the killer question.
Ooh, that is the big question. Getting better all the time.
Yeah. I think but how good are they? That's a different question.
But how good are they?
How good are they? I mean, are they adequate for most people that you know? I mean, I don't know, within the community, do people...
I think they are something where, live sort of speech-to-text reporters, as you've got here, are the gold standard. That's what we always recommend anyone who's looking for help in in their workplace. That sort of thing is number one. But there's lots of situations where that's either not appropriate or just not possible. Often things are done at the last minute, and in that case, captions can serve a really useful purpose. And we're talking to the big people, Microsoft and Google, people like that, to say, well, how can we convey it better when the captions maybe aren't so confident? So these systems, they make predictions. They work out what the probability of any given word is, and they give you the most likely word. But it's not always right. And so if we can find ways that they can tell us when they're not confident, then it means that you can help the people using them have a conversation and say, well, did you say that? So that we can actually make it so they're more useful still. So
almost a little amber light saying this might not be quite right.
Exactly, yeah.
Right, okay. And in sense of the actual challenges it brings with those sort of live captions, what are the problems? It's literally comprehension, I assume, that it says the wrong word or it puts the words in the wrong order. Those are the sorts of things they're still trying to overcome.
I mean, so getting the wrong word is obviously a big thing.
Yeah.
You don't want to get the wrong meaning. I think the other thing which is becoming more possible is a thing called diarization, which is when you actually say who is speaking now. Okay. It's feasible. There are some systems that can do it, but not the main sort of systems don't yet do that. And I think when you can tell who's saying what, that makes a big difference.
You're more tuned into what they might be saying on that basis. I guess in Teams as well, because everybody's remote, then the speaking is connected to the person speaking. That's what
it
I
is
see
when everyone's remote, but hybrid meetings are a really big
Absolutely.
thing. So when you've got a combination of some people remotely and some people in the room, how do you get it so the people in the room are picked up properly?
Yeah, cool. So let's talk about something new, what the stuff you're working on at the moment and Auracast.
Yes, so Auracast is a new technology from Bluetooth, so part of the Bluetooth specification, which introduces a new feature called broadcast audio, which means if you've got a device that has sound in it, it can transmit that sound such that anyone can pick it up. So a bit like a radio station, just transmits its sound, doesn't know who's picking it up. Bluetooth Auracast transmits the sound, and anyone with a compatible receiver can pick it up. So that receiver could be hearing aids, but it can also be earbuds or headphones or a smartphone or even a loudspeaker. So you can get to the situation where you have a microphone like this, which is tiny. So this is a small kind of lapel microphone which broadcasts the audio. So that could be an exercise class, for example, and then people in the exercise class can tune into that. So you don't necessarily need to have a loop system installed, or if you're doing it out in a field somewhere, this makes it accessible for everyone.
And it's the same as on my phone. I just join in on the Bluetooth and I'm hooked in.
So when you pair your headphones with a phone normally, there's like a kind of a handshake going on there. When you listen to Auracast, there's no handshake. So it means that you can be completely anonymous listening to this thing, which makes it much more accessible.
And universally in terms of devices as well, presumably, if it's using a Bluetooth standard as a starting point.
Yeah, so whereas something like hearing loops or other technology that is used to make situations more accessible normally requires you to have a specialist receiver. Because this is part of the Bluetooth standard, consumer and prescription devices will both be able to pick it up.
Mm-hmm. And who have you been working with to sort of create the standard? I'm guessing this is one of the things where you want everybody to adopt the same standard as fast as possible, so you don't end up with hybrids.
So the standards have been driven originally by the hearing aid manufacturers, because previous standards were all, they were proprietary. They didn't work with each other. So they kind of got together and said, look, we really need to sort this out. So they set up a working group within the Bluetooth framework. And then all the consumer audio companies said, actually, this sounds brilliant. We want this as well. So the whole industry's worked together to produce the standard. It's been a long time coming, but since kind of middle of last year, companies have been releasing products that have it.
Cool. And then from the perspective, I'm thinking about the partnership. Is it because RNID is in there that you're the active ingredient, or things happening and you're being brought in? How much of it is you pushing and how much of it is them asking you to join in?
I think it's so this stuff is happening anyway. If we went away, it would still happen. But we have been keen to get involved because we want to make sure it's done well. I think when something is a consumer technology, people can run with it and they can just make it work for the masses. We want to make sure that this one standard works for everyone. And so we're really keen to see companies engage with the community and make sure that the apps that support it are accessible and deliver for everyone. To
do that more holistic piece than they may do otherwise.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I think as well, in terms of driving the adoption, it's going to come to consumer devices. Samsung have it on their phones and tablets already. But we want to make sure that it also gets into public venues and into transport and onto all these other places where it can really have an impact.
And from the point of view of, I'm an event organizer, we've organised this, that's the sort of stuff we should be considering, alongside hearing loop and other things
this
potentially.
Session has Auracast.
Okay, cool, there you go.
There's a little...
Is that Paul? You catch it.
There's a little transmitter that we just plug into the desk, and suddenly anyone who wants to listen on these headphones can listen to the audio as clearly as you like.
Cool.
So if anyone wants to...
So as we were talking about before, we didn't know how easy it's going to be to do. It turns out it's easy.
It turned out it was very easy.
We were talking, when we were set up the call, we were saying, I don't know how easy that's going to be to do. That's the point. It's from an event organizer point of view, or anything that you're running where anybody's joining into any session, could be a meeting in the office, could be an event like this. That's the cool thing about the technology. It's now just plug and play for those people who have the devices. Yeah, Frankie, I think you were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just saying that's kind of why we're so excited to be involved with it. And just to add to Alice's point, why are we getting involved? Obviously this requires systems change. So you've got transmitters and receivers. You need to make sure that Auracast transmitters are set up in the right place for us to be able to receive it. So we've been chatting with government and different things like where can we get these on trains, buses, stations. Like we can see such a strong use case there. Imagine if you're someone with hearing loss on a train and there's an emergency diversion or announcement and you end up, we hear this all the time. I'm somewhere totally different than I expected, or why is the train empty and I don't know what's going on. It will just make an incredible amount of difference, because we know that some places aren't easy to loop and that type of thing, and this really does overcome it. So for us, it's just about getting the technology into the hands and ears of the people that need it the most, and just making a change, like making it more accessible.
So the roadmap is it'll be released, it becomes a standard, it's everywhere, the devices that people buy are compatible. And is that around the corner? Are they going to be in our Christmas stockings?
Good question.
It's devices that support it now. You can go and buy them. That's good.
Cool.
And one thing I didn't mention, which I really must say, is that it's not just like the live sound that can be broadcast. You can have multiple streams at once. So we could have translations in different languages. Like imagine cinema having multiple languages at the same time. And also you can have an audio description track broadcast. So for blind and partially sighted people, they can pick up the audio description track whilst visiting the cinema with their friends. Okay,
cool, fantastic. Well, I know RNID does loads of development work like that, as you said, but this is a really cool example of the stuff that's going on that we don't know about. So thank you for bringing it to stage and telling us more. And anybody who wants to know more, Alastair and Frankie are around to find out. And of course, we should all be adopting it in our work, hopefully, from now on. So thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.